Helen, we've got with us tonight, Rupert Wates, and it's just been so cool. I got to meet him this afternoon before you got home, but it's been really nice tonight hearing what y'all talked about so far, and we're going to go back into that more.
It feels like I'm kind of like, back at home. That British accent, sending me back there.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Rupert, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Welcome to Waxhatchee. Welcome to In the Music Room. Welcome to Texas, and we're glad to have you as an American citizen.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, you are an American citizen?
Yeah, I became a citizen about a year ago.
Oh, okay.
I had a green card until then for about 10 years.
Okay, so you're not going back to England then, except for a visit?
I don't. Well, I kept my UK citizenships in case of emergencies, but I don't intend to go and work in the UK. Certainly,
right. So, you can get dual citizenship, United States and UK.
You can.
Really?
I think technically you're supposed to forswear allegiance to all other, power. But when you take the oath, to the US Constitution, but I think it doesn't really make a problem unless we happen to go to war. If the UK and the US would go to war, then that might be a problem. But
well, I don't think we're going to do that.
It's not likely.
It's not on the most likely list.
Not with the current people in there, or the people that look like they're heading there. But Helen, we need to find out about. I know this gentleman's from England, but we need more than that.
Well, he's from London, is what he told me.
So you're born and raised in London?
Yep, that's right. Yes. And then I studied at Oxford, and after leaving college, I went back to live in London for a while, but didn't really work for me. So after a few years, I left and went to Paris. Had 5 years there, and then came to America.
Did you play music in Paris?
Not initially, but then after the first couple of years I did. The French actually were very encouraging to me. The French are very open to what we call Anglophone music, British American music. The French pop charts are full of American music.
You didn't happen to run into a guy named Ronnie Sorter over there, did you? From LA?
Don't think so.
He's a guy I'm kind of looking for right now, an old friend. So I knew he went to Paris.
Well, it's quite. It sounds strange, but actually, it's not unlikely that I would have run into it because Paris is a very small town. Particularly the expatriate community is pretty small. It's about 500,000, and you find you're moving in the same circles. So you do bump into people.
Music community and
music community and doing a lot of theatre. I was doing a lot of theatre. Music community, people who go to, English speaking events. You tend to see the same faces there again and again.
Okay, I'm going to go way back. When you were a young lad in England, when did you realize that you had an interest in playing guitar and that you could write songs?
I've got a twin brother, and he picked up a saxophone when we were 16. And when he picked up his saxophone, I knew I had to pick up something.
Had to respond.
And it was going to be, wasn't going to be a sax because that would be too close. But I picked up a bass guitar, and I had always loved music. We always listened to music in my house, and it was always playing. And I thought the bass would be a good way in because it's only got 4 strings, So I picked it up and played it. And within about a year, I was making a decent sound on bass, and I found that it made sense to me fairly quickly. But I didn't really become a guitar player for many years.
Did you find that playing the bass helped you with playing guitar?
Yeah.
And do you find it affects you in the way you play guitar?
Well, it affects me in the way that I write songs because I'm very aware of the bass, the bottom of the chord,
the lines,
the root. So I spend I give a lot of time and thought to my bass lines, even though I'm not playing bass.
Does that mean you write mainly in major keys?
I write in all keys.
Tunes down into that,
Yeah, I experiment with a lot of different tunings, and actually it's nice sometimes not to know what key you're in when you're writing. It's nice not to be, to rely more on your ear and make it a magical mystery journey. It's nice not to know too much about what key you're in. So one way of doing that for me is to use different tunings, so that I no longer know what chords I'm forming.
Right, and that's more of the sound.
Yeah, and
that's what's neat about the different tunings when you go there.
It breaks up the old habits, and that's good for me. It's exciting. But I play in all keys.
When you found out you could write songs, at what point in time did you find out you wanted to make a living doing that?
Well, really, when I left college, I was offered a couple of gigs, writing gigs, writing musicals actually, and that was right after I left college, and they led on to other gigs, and so I never really looked back. But it wasn't until I came to America that I realised that I can make a living playing live, because America is just still definitely the place which has all the opportunities, most opportunities. Certainly for playing live. I mean, I do about 120 gigs a year here in America. There aren't 120 venues in the UK, I don't. Well, there might be, but they're not all very good. It was when I came to America that I realised that I can make a living on the road. You know, prior to that, I made a kind of a living writing for other people, writing shows for other people. You know. But it didn't fall into place for many, many years. It took me a long time till it actually started to work for me.
Where do you feel like you want to land musically? Your journey is movement, and it's down the road, but at some point in time there'll be a place where you land musically. And where would you like that to be?
Well, I would like not to have to travel quite so much. It's true, the travelling is really exhausting. You know, when I'm on the road, I'm just exhausted the whole time. I'd like to play less gigs and better gigs. You know, so if you're playing a better paid gig, you don't have to play so many of them. You know, in order to make a living. But I
you just have to get known. That's all.
Yeah, well,
you have to put yourself in that mix. You know.
That's what I've been doing.
Absolutely.
It's a long hard haul. I mean, being on the road is a very, very demanding life. But I was recently hearing about a songwriter. I'm not sure how you pronounce her first name. Is it Anais or Anais? Anais Mitchell. And she's just nominated, or she's just won the best score for a Broadway show in 2 nights ago at the Tonys. And she has been, up until this point, as far as I know, a touring musician just like me. But she's just written a Broadway musical, which is doing very well. And that would be a nice way to get off the road, wouldn't it?
You know, it just takes one song, that somebody who is famous picks it up, and you're set. You know.
Well, I've got a couple of friends.
Or that one break that puts you in that position.
Yeah.
Either one.
I've got some friends who worked in Nashville for a long time, and one of my friends wrote a song which was a very big hit, and he's been living off that for a good 15 years. You know.
Well, that's a good thing about it if you can find those. But the main thing is you write the songs.
Yes, exactly. I just want to write songs that mean something to me, you know, and if they mean something to someone else, that's great, you know. Yeah. And I've had a lot of my songs covered. In fact, I've had about 30 of them recorded in the last few years, but not by anybody who's going to pay my bills, you know.
Yeah.
make me rich.
But again,
there.
You never know when that person's going to be the one that catches the ear of the public, you know.
Well, the more you play, the more you play, the more it builds on itself, doesn't it? You know,
and the more you're heard.
More I'm heard,
Yeah, kind of. You know, you have you have an interesting style, because I don't pin it down. It's not Americana, but it's Americana. It's not British, but it's British. It's not really. It's not rock, but it's kind of borders, and then
bit of Irish.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of. It's a lot of influences floating through the songs, and not just floating through his songs, but through each song.
Oh, that's true. Well, I think it reflects the places I've lived. You know, I've lived in London, Paris, and America. So I think there's.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah. Where do you live now?
I live in New York City and Colorado. Got a tiny place in New York City and a slightly less tiny place in Colorado. And one is my base in the west and one is my base in the east. And makes a big difference for touring. Because I'm never more than about 20 hours drive from
This is a big country.
It's a big place. But I'm never more than about 20 hours drive from one of my two bases, you know. So I can plan a tour knowing that I'll be able to get home within a couple of nights on the road, which makes a lot of difference in touring. I can book a gig anywhere, and I know I can make it work pretty much. You know.
Okay, where's the twin brother? What is he doing? Is he a musician?
Well, he used to be a musician. Well, he still is to a degree, but he has a lot more dependence than I do, and he wasn't making enough money as a musician. For that reason and other reasons, he's now specialising in fine art. He's lecturing in fine art, which is the history of art and art criticism.
So it's a similar thing. It's just a different branch of the arts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're both art, in the arts for better or worse.
Well, you're in the performing arts, the writing arts, the recording arts. You're in the video, audio, everything. So
Yeah.
you're involved in a lot of different areas as well as theatrics. So
Yeah, and he certainly has been a musician, but I don't think he'd ever really made a full living as a musician. He was playing jazz, and as we all know, it's very difficult to make a living playing jazz.
yeah.
Now he's still over in the UK.
In fact, yes, he's on the south coast and not far from Brighton.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's where he lives.
Well, he's in a good area then.
It's a nice area. I hear. I haven't been there for many years, but
So
Yeah.
do you have a new album that you're working on, promoting right now?
well, I've got my latest one, which I recorded in December of last year. It's called Full Circle, but I've
Okay.
just started to think about writing a new one, and that will occupy me for the next year or so, probably. I won't do any recording for at least a year, but I've been starting to think about a new CD.
Just accumulate the songs.
I've just started to think about the kind of CD that I'd like to make, but this one I just put out actually came out in February of this year. I recorded it in December, and I've been trying to push this.
And it's called
called Full Circle,
Full Circle.
and it's kind of a tribute album in a way. It's back to my roots, and on all the songs I'm trying to pay homage to some of the artists who have influenced me.
And it can be purchased online. And tell people again how they can buy your products, as well as the best place, of course, is find out where this guy's playing and go and support live
Precisely.
music
Go buy a CD in person.
and buy a CD where you can sign up for
We
it.
can maybe mention where I'm going to play in a minute, but in Texas. But you can buy my CDs online through CD Baby, or you can go to my website www.rupertwatesmusic.com, and on the Buy Music page, there's all my CDs. I've got at least 10 of them. I think I've got 10, yeah. And you just click on them, listen to some samples, and you can either download individual songs, which people do quite often, or you can buy the whole album. Order it from CD Baby. It takes about a week to be delivered. It's about $13 including shipping, I think.
And do you have a website?
Yeah, rupertwatesmusic.com.
Music, okay. And they can buy them there too?
Yeah, rupertwatesmusic.com. Yeah, that's
So CD Baby there, is it available also like Amazon or anything?
yes, I'm on all over the
all
web.
those places.
Amazon, iTunes, Spotify.
So guys, if you want this gentleman's songs, you can get them. Just go a little bit out of the way, and it's worth it.
But please pay some money to do so. Don't just steal them.
That's right.
They wouldn't do that. People, we have so many shows in our studio here, and everybody has always been respectful and honest, and you couldn't ask for more. Very supportive of the artists that come in here.
Well,
so.
you yourselves are very supportive of us.
Well, we believe in what you do. We believe
Thank
in
you.
what the genre that you represent does, but also what you do personally. So,
Thank you.
it means a lot to us that you're here and sharing your music, your time, your life, your road
Thank you.
with us a little bit.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Helen, are there other things on that wonderful little list of yours? I don't have my glass on.
Who would you say your musical influences were growing up?
Well, when we were in our early teens, my twin brother and I, we used to listen to all the obvious usual candidates, usual suspects, Beatles, Rolling Stones, a lot of classical music, because my parents liked classical. We had also some records from America, because my family have always had a very close relationship with a family living in Baltimore, based in Baltimore, and we would come and visit them, or they would visit us, and they would bring vinyl quite often, which was not available in the UK, by people like, in the late '60s, I remember we used to listen to Newport Blues Festival CDs from unusual artists like Brownie McGee and Sonny Terry and John Hammond and Mississippi John Hurt.
You're going on back when you go to Brownie McGee.
Yeah, well, these were people that weren't being listened to very much in London at the time, or in England. But so we heard them through our American friends. And then as I grew up, my elder brother came to America a lot, and he would bring back records by people like the Grateful Dead, Leo Kottke.
Great Canadian artist.
Yeah, and who else? Quite a few guitarists who weren't very well known at that time in England. So I had quite an eclectic listening.
Sounds like
background.
it.
Yeah, and then my sister would listen to those female singer-songwriters, Carly Simon, Joni Mitchell, Carole King. who were very big in the 70s, and I got a lot of taste of that. I was never into hard rock, I must admit. Even as a teenager, I listened to the Rolling Stones a lot, but I never ventured further than the Rolling Stones, unlike most of my peers at that time.
Well, when you grew up, who were on the charts when you were in high school?
Well, when I was growing up, it was the early 80s, really. It was, which was actually quite a good time for British music. We had the new wave revival, which
that's kind of when Helen grew up too.
right.
So.
It followed the punk period. Punk didn't mean much to me because it was just not musical enough. I like a tune. I like melody. I like people who can play their instrument. So punk didn't mean very much. But after punk was gone, we had the new wave in England and New York in America, and there were people like the Police, Joe Jackson, Elvis Costello, Nick Lowe.
Love Elvis Costello.
Yeah, Joan Armatrading, Squeeze. A lot of very good songwriters.
Costello's a very creative songwriter.
Elvis Costello, yeah.
Really like him.
And he's now married to Diana Krall, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, and she's a beautiful singer.
They must have a very musical...
interesting mix. That's
house, yeah,
it's
household.
like Sonny and Cher, you know.
Yes, yeah. That was an unusual mix.
Yes, it was.
What was I saying? The 80s. Yeah, but then later on, the 80s kind of went south a little bit with disco and overproduced stuff. So yeah, the early 80s was really when I was listening to the most music, I guess. And then I went off to college and real life began.
Who influenced your guitar playing style the most?
Leo Kottke.
I started to say, because I said when
He's
you mentioned
one.
that.
Leo Kottke, John Martin, another guy that I mentioned earlier on. He's actually English, but he grew up in Scotland. Nick Drake, John Renbourn, Martin Joseph.
Barr?
I haven't. No.
With Jethro Tull?
I never got into Jethro Tull. I listened to Fairport Convention quite a lot and
Sometime
Pentangle.
listen to the guitar player. Listen to Martin Barr.
Martin Barr. I've heard his
my
name
God.
for sure.
I met him on the West Coast, and that just blew me away as a guitarist. Just incredible guitar player.
Well, all these guys, they all fed into the same pool. I think all these guitarists in that era.
Isn't it interesting that even though you lived on the other side of the world, we kind of were listening to the same stuff, which is cool.
I think
It's
so.
just the
Music
other
is
side
so
of the
universal.
pond. That's all. Just that little pond. out
What, that
there.
little pond, yeah.
Well, music is a universal language. I mean,
It is. It really is, and it's a wonderful thing.
I think so.
We are so glad you were here tonight to share yours with us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And I want to thank all y'all for tuning in. Keep on coming back and listening to all the great artists that come in and see us here.
Like Rupert Wates.
That's right.
Yes.
Here in the music room. In the music room. In the music